Agarkar will travel to the West Indies and meet the Indian team management and discuss the World Cup plans with them. More details on the show. We will also talk about Prithvi Shaw and his mental struggles after being dropped from the Indian team as he gets ready for a county stint. And India will play second test against the West Indies on the 20th of July in Port of Spain. What can West Indies do to bounce back? Ian Bishop has some advice. So we'll talk about that. What is it? Stay tuned. But let's also introduce our lovely panelists on the show. If you can come back to me, please. Please just come back to me. Thank you. Let's introduce our panelists then on the show. Chetan Narula is here with me. There is Vedam Jaishankar here as well. And I'm sure both of them, knowing them, would want to fight back from the Windies because we're watching this series late into the night. What kind of a pitch was that, guys, in the first test? Can we get a better pitch? Can maybe India take a curator along next time when they travel to the West Indies? Because at the moment, this is slow and painful to watch. Of course, we've seen some wonderful performances from the Indian players. But welcome, both of you, to the show. And let me then talk about what is expected before the second test. Let's begin with India's roadmap ahead of the World Cup, because if there's one thing we have seen with this Indian team is they get positive results before and after ICC tournaments, just not in them. So with this same thought, I'm guessing the newly minted chief selector Ajit Agarkar will travel to Port of Spain to meet head coach Rahul Dravid and captain Rohit Sharma and discuss the plan for the upcoming ODI World Cup, which is set to begin in Ahmedabad on the 5th of October. Agarkar was made the chairman of selectors earlier this month and is yet to meet the team management. This meeting becomes even more significant because of not just the World Cup planning, but also for a team in transition. It'll be important to discuss the future of some of the big names in the team. Agarkar and the team management will likely discuss the plans they have for this team for a smooth transition process. They will also talk about Jasprit Bumrah and his availability for the Island series, which starts right after the West Indies tour. Bumrah has been doing his rehab at NCA and reportedly has recovered from his surgery. He's bowling in the nets, but NCA now wants players who are recuperating at the academy to play domestic cricket before getting back to the international setup. So will Bumrah play 50 overs due the trophy? That's another question. These are all questions that will be discussed. Then the biggest question of it all, is it the end of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in the shortest format? It's likely that Agarkar will be the bearer of this news for them. They will need, he'll in fact talk to them and tell them that they need to concentrate on tests and ODIs. Let the youngsters play T20Is. The other thing, and I think it's important, is the issue of KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer's fitness and hence their availability for Asia Cup. If they're not playing the Asia Cup, then should they directly get into the side for the World Cup, or should someone like Yashasvi Jaiswal or Ruturaj Gaikwad be playing the Asia Cup instead of Asian Games? So a lot of questions. Let me put them directly to our experts here. Chetan, what do you think? Number one, this is not going to be an easy task. I mean, but I'm sure Ajit Agarkar knew that when he took this job, but this is difficult. There are two of these players who he will have to break this news to, saying, you know what, you're not in our future plans. And both of them are the top two run scorers in T20Is. One is the great Virat Kohli. The other is the current captain of Tests and ODIs, Rohit Sharma.
Well, thanks, Meha, for having me. Look, this was always going to be the brief of the incoming chief of selector, and we've seen in the past the best chief of selectors have been made to give tough news. Been made to give tough news to the cricketers. Whether it was Sandeep Patil who gave the news to Sachin Tendulkar, or in the past with MS Dhoni, etc. as well. So, I mean, look, this was always the brief for the incoming chief of selector, whoever it might have been. So, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma not part of the 20 plans. That was always on the cards. But I think the major the major point of contention right now is the ODI World Cup. If he's just starting to talk to the team management right now, has the West Indies ODIs team not been picked? Considering the ODI World Cup, that is a big question mark for me. So I think the meeting is long overdue, but I'm a little surprised that it didn't happen before the team for the West Indies ODIs was picked.
Right, Vedam, your thoughts on it? The fact that Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma will be told finally that they're not part of this the shortest format. And I think what's also important is that the way ahead, this transition process has to be smooth. We've been speaking about this on our shows. But just the fact that, this is the first time that he'll be meeting the team management, what are you expecting out of this meeting?
Hi, Meha. I think if they really wanted to have any discussion, you don't need to fly all the way halfway across the world to the West Indies to have a discussion. Today's communication methods are so good and so outstanding. They could have done it quite some time back. I have no idea why he really is flying there. But, transition that we talk of, we are talking, we like the transition to take place. But I don't think Indian cricket is too serious about transition. Because if they were, they would have been doing it from the last 1.5 years, grooming a captain, grooming a wicketkeeper, grooming some openers. They haven't really done that. Most of these things are ad hoc and, on the fly. They've been doing things on the fly. So I'm not so sure that, we are attaching a lot of deep thought and deep meaning to some of the ordinary things that the selectors and the board are doing. I would like to believe that we have an idea, that we have a plan, that there's a blueprint, 5-year plan, 3-year plan, but I don't think it's happening at all. Whether it's with the India A team, under 19 team, or with the Indian team, I think there are a lot of pressures. The pressures will come. Obviously, it will come from the units, because each of the units has a vote. The pressure will come from the units. The pressure will come from the sponsors. The pressure will come from the agents. The pressure will come from the franchises, from various other places. And I am not so sure that the board is really into it, as long as the mullahs are rolling in and they get some good, decent results every once in a while. Yes, no player will quit willingly. At least the Indian players, it's a big contrast. A lot of West Indies players don't want to play for the West Indies. They'd rather play IPL cricket or some franchise cricket. But here we have another side where the players really want to play, not just because they stay in the limelight for longer, but for a whole lot of economical reasons and a whole lot of other reasons. So no player will say, yeah, I've had enough, thank you, let me go. It rarely happens, very rarely. Maybe Sunil Gavaskar was an exception, but I can't think of a second or a third name there. So they'll have to be pushed out. We also saw a whole lot how Sourav Ganguly himself didn't go very peacefully. He kicked up a shindy, sent a long head fellows after him. And the whole lot of controversies, whether it was VVS Lakshman, who didn't even have Dhoni over to his house for dinner. He called the rest of the team. So we know that, these the players don't willingly go. They have to be pushed out. And when are they going to be pushed out? How are they going to be pushed out? That's the question. Maybe there was some sort of an idea or a plan some time back, but the last 2 years or 3 years, the way things have gone, I'm not too confident.
What about the other big conversation that they're likely to have, Chetan, which is on Jasprit Bumrah's availability? Now, it's good to see. I'm sure we've all seen those videos of him bowling full throttle in the nets, which is nice to see. But I'm wondering how they're going to get him back into the side, because NCA has made it mandatory for you to go back to domestic cricket, play domestic cricket and then come back into the side. But then this is not just any other player. This is Jasprit Bumrah, and India needs him desperately. So how do you see that playing out? Do you see him directly being selected for maybe Ireland series, or does he go back and play the other trophy? There are questions around that.
Well, I think there has to be a particular roadmap decided for Jasprit Bumrah. Of course, playing Ireland T20s would be a good marker, because the last time Jasprit Bumrah came into the Indian squad, he broke down before, he could bowl a ball in anger. So you don't really want that on the eve of the ODI World Cup. So I think we have to bring him back in a very, very timely manner. whether he plays domestic cricket or not just depends on the scheduling. I mean, if his fitness schedule, rehabilitation, that coincides with the domestic, one-day matches, then he probably cannot play them. Then he needs to straight away, he might straight away go to Ireland and play the T20s. But then, he will he be available for the Asia Cup? So three ODIs against Australia before the World Cup. So these are question marks that perhaps the selection committee can answer. If the selectors would, come out and do a media conference, I'm sure there are a lot of journalists across India who want to ask them lots of questions. But none of the selectors have been available to questions and answer for a long, long time now. So this is just one of the many, many questions in Indian cricket at the moment. But there is no doubt that there has to be a particular roadmap so that Bumrah becomes available for the ODI World Cup.
We've realized, Vedam, is the importance of Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, we always knew what he brought to the table when it came to the Indian team. We knew, how good this team was. We knew what a big match winner he has been for India. But this absence made you also realize how desperate we are to get him back because of the lack of bowling options in his absence. Either, which we've seen now in the West Indies as well, with Bumrah injured, with Mohammad Shami rested, you're really going back at options who are either aging, who are not, who do not have the express pace that one wants right now. And you're wondering whether they are your options in the longest format. So that has also been the other thing where India are desperate to get him back, but at the same time, like Ravi Shastri said, like Chetan just said, you don't want to rush him back, like they did last year before the World Cup.
See, there's no doubt that Jasprit Bumrah is an absolute gem. And what is it that makes him a gem? Yes, he's got pace. Yes, he's got deception. But what really makes him an outstanding bowler is that quirk in the action. Because if you really look at it, all the bowlers who have really succeeded have that quirk. You have that Patirana or Malinga. I mean, these are not actions that you can teach. Muralidharan, there's a whole lot of people who are Courtney Walsh. There's some quirk in their action which catches the batsman off guard for a partial second, maybe a nanosecond. And in this cricket, when you bowl at 85, 90 miles per hour, that nanosecond makes a lot of difference. So that's one great thing with Jasprit Bumrah. Another thing is the mind that he has, He's a very calculating bowler. The way he bowls those slower deliveries, it's unbelievable, when even in a tough situation, he bowls those slower deliveries, pitches it up. He's got a whole bag of tricks. So I think we really need to look at a whole lot of scenarios. Yes, we need a good lot of solid bowlers like Mohammad Shami and Siraj and those kind of bowlers. But we need to be on the lookout for bowlers like Patirana or Malinga or Bumrah, because they really will be the match winners for any team. And I think we need to see there's a lot about cricket. It's not just about technique. There's a lot of temperament involved, and there's a lot of your ability to fool the batsman. When I say fool the batsman, I mean catching him off guard even for a nanosecond. It makes a lot of difference, especially when they're going after him. That nanosecond counts for a lot.
Also, just talking about what more can be expected from this meeting, Chetan, Ajit Agarkar is going to be meeting this team management for the first time. They're, of course, going to be talking about the vision that they have for this team, which is a team in transition, which is a very important phase in Indian cricket, where you're trying to make sure that it's going to be a smooth transition, that, that there are results and positive results for this team, but at the same time, you're not taking, knee-jerk reactions. So all of that needs to be taken into account. I wonder how this meeting will go, with Rohit Sharma there. And then he's being told that, boss, you are not required in the shortest format. So, yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be pleasant. And I don't even know whether it's okay to do it in the middle of a series.
Well, this is bound to happen at some point, no? And I think Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, probably both of them know that in some manner, they are not part of India's future T20 plans. Whether they can be part of India's future test and ODI plans, that remains to be seen. What strikes me as odd, more odd than anything else, Meha, is he's going to meet the team management, but the conversation has to be just about the ODI World Cup. He cannot possibly discuss future transition plans with them because Rahul Dravid might not be the coach of the Indian team after the World Cup. Rohit Sharma might not be the captain of the Indian team after the World Cup. So we don't really know. We can only guess the agenda. But for sure, they're going to talk about the ODI World Cup plans. It's, again, very strange because they've picked the ODI side for the West Indies before that. They've picked the Asia Games side before discussing with the team management. Players like Washington Sundar and somebody like an Arshdeep Singh. Yes, Ruturaj Gaikwad is also there. Yashasvi Jaiswal is also there. But those two bowlers, I thought they would have been, if fit and available, they should have been in contention for the ODI World Cup squad. So probably a little late for my liking that this meeting is going to happen now and not, before the ODI series squad for the West Indies tour was selected.
Now, if you look at the Asian Games squad, Vedam, it's pretty clear that these are the players, the squad that's been chosen for the Asian Games are not going to be able to play the Asia Cup. So here's my question then. How long will this team, and I know you and I have discussed this, how KL Rahul and some of the other players have been given a longer rope in the side. They come back, they're injured, they come right back into the side, which is what happened in the last World Cup. Last year, he was rushed back for the Zimbabwe series, and then you realize that, maybe you need somebody else. Maybe he wasn't, completely fit. Maybe he wasn't match fit. So how long do you wait for someone like a Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul? And do you already start looking beyond them? Do you say that, what, I don't see you guys having played as much, so I'm just going to now get someone like a Yashasvi Jaiswal in the squad? Keep him in the core squad, give him enough opportunities before the World Cup instead of just drafting Shreyas Iyer or KL Rahul right before the World Cup?
I wouldn't like to draft anybody in before the World Cup. Correct. Because, getting fit is not just about the body being fit. You also need to be match fit. You need to be mentally fit. And that takes time. The biggest thing about coming out of an injury is not so much about the physical trauma, but it's the mental trauma. You're not sure whether you can do it, you will do it. You should do it. There are a lot of questions you keep asking yourself again and again. So I think for any sensitive cricketer, and you really need to look at it. If a guy is sensitive, then he would be kindled with all these kind of questions. Can I, should I, would I, and things like that. But if a guy is, sorry if I'm going to say thick in the head, but I can't get another word for it right now. But if somebody, who doesn't think, who's a brilliant player, but he's brilliant because mentally he is so strong that even he doesn't realize, that he's mentally so strong. He just goes out there and delivers. It's very difficult and very rare to get such a player, but if you can get somebody like that and, coming out of fitness for them, would not be too tough. But otherwise, there are mental scars. It's not just the physical scars when you're not fit. There are also the mental scars you have to come out of. And for a big tournament like the World Cup, you want everybody to be at their 100%. Not just physically alone, but also mentally. And so whether it is KL Rahul or anybody else for that matter, you not only they need to come back into the action, but they need to come back into the action in such a way that even they are comfortable. See, it's very important for a sportsman to have self-confidence. So even they have to be comfortable that they can do it. It's not a question of hiding injuries, not a question of hiding fears. You got to be upright, and you need a good selection panel which can gauge what exactly this guy is up to. Is he up to it? If he is up to it, yeah, fine. Because KL Rahul, if he is up to it, is absolutely outstanding. But is he mentally, physically fit? That's the question that they need to ask. Otherwise, I really think when the World Cup comes, you have to see who are the fit guys. Whether he's in the A team or the Asia Cup team or whatever, your best team has to go to the World Cup. So you can pull him out of any team and put him there into the World Cup team. And so the match preparation, I think, is also a very, very important thing. And these matches have to be played well before the World Cup so that you have a fit team, and then you can gel as a team and go for the World Cup.
No, absolutely well said. Because I think more than that, if someone's already been made part of that core squad, he's going to approach the tournament with a different attitude than somebody who's been drafted in at the last moment just because another player wasn't found fit. I would think that if you right now believe that KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer are not going to be fit, in all probability, or maybe there's a 60% chance they might not be fit, isn't this the time to draft somebody else in? Isn't this the time to give somebody else an opportunity, give him a long run, see what he can do? But let's also, before I get to Chetan on this one, let's also take a look at a source within the BCCI and what he had to say about how Ajit Agarkar will be approaching this meeting. I can see Chetan smiling, and I'll tell you why he is smiling is because there are always sources within the BCCI who give out this news. I don't see Ajit Agarkar speaking to anybody right now. I mean, this is going to be a difficult assignment for him. I think the way he is as a person, I don't see him having spoken. But let's just put that quote up for everybody to see, where the source quoted in the media is saying the time to bring in young blood in T20 setup is overdue. They need enough opportunities and exposure before the big event to settle into their roles. Agarkar will make it clear to both Rohit and Virat Kohli that they should concentrate on ODI and Test cricket. Now, this is a source that's been quoted in the media. There is also another quote which is given to PTI, where the quote is, currently Salil Ankola is in the West Indies, but he'll be back after the Test series gets over. Ajit Agarkar will be joining the team before the start of the white ball leg. So let me then get Chetan in on this. The source also talking about how, the change is overdue. But like I said, give them opportunities right now than in the Asia Cup or in the World Cup.
Well, that's the only option left, Neha. But the fact is, you have to look at what squad they have picked really, and who they could give those opportunities to. I mean, you have Ruturaj Gaikwad who's there, you have Surya Kumar Yadav who's there, and you have Sanju Samson over there, and Ishan Kishan. So you have to give opportunities in the middle order to these four batsmen itself. And Gaikwad is going to be leading the Asian Games side. So he can't really play ODI cricket and say, okay, you know what, you play ODIs in the West Indies and then you're off to the Asian Games and you won't be playing the World Cup. That's a waste of space. You're wasting 3 ODIs, you're wasting a spot in the playing 11. So that automatically rules out Ruturaj Gaikwad in my particular opinion. Surya Kumar Yadav, they've tried him at number 4 before. Earlier, they mixed him with Hardik Pandya, kept a sort of a rotating middle order, got him at 4, didn't work out, then Hardik Pandya at 4 and Surya Kumar Yadav at 5. So that is one option that they could go in with. The other option is to blood in Sanju Samson, because obviously if KL Rahul is not going to be available, we need a second wicketkeeper option. Now, what I've heard is Sanju Samson could also be a third opener's choice. Even if KL Rahul is fit, they might actually put Sanju Samson in the World Cup squad ahead of Ishan Kishan. So he could double up as both a middle order option or an opening option. So I'm not sure I see him as an opening option, but it could still work. But again, like you said, it needs to happen right now. They need to give them those opportunities right now in the West Indies ODIs and possibly the Asia Cup. But the problem with the Asia Cup is India's matches won't start until the first week of September. Yes, the Asia Cup is starting on August 29 itself, but the 4 matches in Pakistan and then everything traveling to Sri Lanka. India's matches won't start before the first week of September. By then, the preliminary squad of the ODI World Cup will already have been announced. So it's basically the 3 ODIs against West Indies where you really have to firm up the plans. And like I said earlier, Agarkar should have spoken a lot earlier. A chief of selector for all that matters, Chief of selector should have been picked a lot earlier, because this is last minute planning by India at the moment.
I don't see this going very well, Vedam. I don't see this going very well. I'm sorry, but it almost like they are always playing catch up. This all had to be decided earlier. Last moment you think, oh no, we need a selector. Oh no, we need a very, somebody of stature, somebody of heft. So we quickly make arrangements to make sure that he gets better salary so that Ajit Agarkar can come in. Then Ajit Agarkar comes in, but it's too late because now you're trying to, there are just those many ODIs that they'll play. What they're playing ODIs against the West Indies, then there is Asia Cup, then Australia come home for an ODI series just before the World Cup, right? So you don't have too many options here.
Yeah, this is exactly what I've been saying the last 2 to 3 years. There is, I mean, planning in the BCCI seem to be like an oxymoron. You know, they just don't plan. They have no clue. And especially last 2 3 years, whether it's a selector or the captain or like the opening batsman, anybody, there's no planning. It's just, you know, everything is ad hoc. You know, pack somebody, ask them to pack their bags and go. That's exactly what they've been doing. So I'm not too surprised about this. I knew it would come to this right through because if you're planning, then you have to show that you have a long term plan. You know, and that starts even at the under 19 level, at the under 21 or India A level. You have to see that reflected at every level. You can't suddenly spring surprises like this. You know, if Ajit Agarkar had to be the national selector, the entire act should have been gone on for a longer time. Maybe he should have been involved in some zonal team or some other team so that he would have also had a lot of things. Who are the scouts? We don't know who the scouts are. I don't think there are even any scouts going on here. The only scouts that you can think of are the IPL franchise scouts who are doing their job. BCCI, I don't think it's got scouts going now. Earlier there were scouts. And those scouts used to go around to the various zones and then report. And there could be some system. But last 2 3 years, the way things have been going, I'm very disappointed and quite disheartened by the way they are picking and choosing. Now, you take the ODI season. What are the most important batting time during the ODI? Is between the 11th over and the 40th over. You know, that is when there are just 4 fielders in the outfield. You need batsmen who can run, not play stupid shots and throw their wicket. You need to take 2s and 3s or whatever at that time. And that's the time you can take 6 or even 7 runs an over. Now, do you have the batsmen? Do you look for fit batsmen? Do you look like batsmen who can maneuver the ball into the caps? Or do you want to go and look after the big hitters? The big hitters are okay in T20 cricket. But in ODI, there's some strategy. So you got to pick and choose the right guys who will play well between the 11th over and that 40th over. If you cannot do that, then again it's ad hocism. You say somebody is too old, somebody is too young, and somebody is inexperienced or somebody is not well, and then pick and choose the sides that you want. So I'm not really enthused. There are not enough matches to go around to, like Chetan said, to start with. And even in the matches, do you have a strategy? Have you taken somebody into confidence? I would have preferred that they take a whole lot of other guys also. Let all the 5 selectors go and sit in the West Indies. There's nothing wrong. But they should not interfere with the team. So the big problem when you send these selectors, you know, they would interfere with the captain's decisions. They'll interfere with the coach's decisions. And that's not what you want. When you hand over charge to somebody, the charge should be total. So I have my own doubts about how it's going to work.
So my sense of this is, and I could be completely wrong because we have no idea. All 3 of us don't have an idea of what they're going to discuss. We know what they're going to discuss, but how do they go about it? But my sense of this is that at least till the World Cup, Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma will have a say. You know, at least I think that's something. But having said that, Ajit Agarkar would have also, spoken to the BCCI and said that, look, I want a free hand. I need to be able to make some calls because at the end of the day, you know, my name's also part of this whole process of transition. So how do you see it, Chetan? Do you see Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid having the final say in the team selection?
No, the selectors always have the final say when it comes to a transition phase or selecting the squad, really. Yes, Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid will get a lot of say in picking the ODI squad. But beyond that, it has to be Ajit Agarkar's game because that's what we've been crying out for, haven't we? I mean, we need a chief of selectors who can lay down the
here's my thing. Sorry. But here's my thing. The bigger question is, Ajit Agarkar may have come at whatever time. I think what this country wants is that World Cup. So if they are going to have a final say, then Ajit Agarkar's appointment right before the World Cup makes no difference.
Look, Meher, I'll just give you a very small example. I mean, last time around, we had this World Cup. And when I say last time around, it was the T20 World Cup I'm talking about,
Yeah.
2022. Um, the squad that was picked was not the best squad in terms of balance. I mean, I have been questioning Dinesh Karthik's selection in that particular squad from day one. The fact that they left out Rishabh Pant to accommodate Dinesh Karthik, a
Yes.
left-handed batsman keeper who could aggressively bat, give you the tempo, and with Dinesh Karthik, you got a batsman who could just bat 12 balls, maybe 15 balls, maybe. So he was just held back. There were times when Akshar Patel was promoted ahead of Dinesh Karthik. So
Yeah.
this was a strategy which was developed up for 6 to 8 months, neglecting somebody like Rishabh Pant. So it's not always best practice to give the captain and the coach a free run. I'm not blaming Dinesh Karthik for
No.
India's
What
failure.
was worst and more criminal was then they dropped him when
And
they
then they
saw
dropped
that
him when it was a chance of semi-final. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just did not make sense to me. Again, I'm not blaming just Dinesh Karthik for India's failure to win the T20 World Cup. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just blaming the entire thinking approach.
Yeah.
And the selectors and the team management need to be on one page. So
Yeah.
and if you don't mind me saying this, they're starting to make that same mistake again. What is Jayadev Unadkat doing in the ODI squad for the West Indies?
Exactly.
It's just beyond my comprehension.
Like I say, 2 steps
Um,
forward, 1 step back.
Exactly. And they're sending Arshdeep Singh to the Asian Games. I mean, wow. I mean, 10 out of 10 for decision making. Anyway, my point here is they will get a lot of say on the ODI World Cup. But beyond that, it has to be Ajit Agarkar's brief to bring in the transition.
Sure.
Because he's the one who's going to decide if Rohit Sharma is going to keep. If we don't win the World Cup, is Rohit Sharma going to be ODI captain? Is he going to be Test captain? He's definitely not going to be T20 captain. So it's Ajit Agarkar who's going to decide Rohit Sharma's future as a cricketer, or in what capacity he's going to continue as cricketer. Rahul Dravid's contract has not been renewed. It's just 3 months remaining for the ODI World Cup. His contract expires at the end of the World Cup. And from what I'm hearing, somebody else will take over the reins. And it will not be Rahul Dravid after the ODI World Cup. So we are talking about 2 people in the team management who are not going to be, who are not assured to be part of Indian cricket's plans going ahead. So at the end of the day, it has to be Ajit Agarkar who has to lay down the law. As regards the ODI World Cup, yes, give them credit for the kind of team they have developed, the strategy they have developed, but I'm hoping he'll keep his foot down on some matters. I'm sure you know what I mean, but it has to be a balance between the two.
Okay, let's also then talk about India versus West Indies, the series that's on, and we're all looking forward to the second test in Trinidad at Port of Spain. But former West Indies legend Ian Bishop, he believes that the second test in Trinidad between India and West Indies will have a pace-friendly pitch. Ian Bishop said that he knows a lead consultant. This is to ESPN Cricinfo. He says that he knows a lead consultant who can prepare a better surface for West Indies in the second test. The first test offered a slow wicket where batsmen struggled to score boundaries. West Indies were bowled out for just 150 and 130 in both innings. Not even a single West Indies batter managed to score a 50 across both innings. So Bishop now said that he was surprised by the conditions in Dominica and how the team management was not strategic enough to get a pitch prepared that would play to their strengths, which is a faster pitch. Hopefully, it's going to be a different pitch in Trinidad. We're going to put that quote up for you as well before I get to our experts. Exactly what Ian Bishop has said. He says, I believe Trinidad would be, fingers crossed, different in the sense that it will be a good cricket surface. Dominica was particularly hard even for Jaiswal and Rohit to score. Even for them, it was not easy to score. They played well because they are highly skilled. There is a lead consultant on that surface in Trinidad who I think understands and has the resources to prepare a better surface. I'm trusting that will be the case. I'm not guaranteeing a win for the West Indies, but a surface that will reward good fast bowling, good batsmanship. Maybe later on, slow bowlers come into play. And that's exactly the kind of pitch that we want with them. We all want that same pitch. We want a
Yes,
contest.
we do. Yes,
we want
we
to
do.
stay up for
See,
interesting, exciting cricket.
not just for interesting and exciting cricket. See, one thing is, yes, Queens Park Oval is one of the iconic stadiums in the world. There's no doubt about it, and it has got a rich cricket history, cricket tradition. But what we want, especially as Indians, I mean, we love the Queen's Park Oval. Some of the best results we've had in the West Indies have come from Queen's Park Oval. But what we really want to see is we want to see the mettle of these young batsmen that we have. That is Jaiswal for one, and certainly some of the others. So we want to see them, how they battle against fire. Good, fiery, pacey pitches, because that's what we're going to get later in the year in South Africa. So we'd like to see straight away, can some of these guys measure up to it? And definitely for us to judge ourselves, I would prefer if they can squeeze in one or two more youngsters like Gaikwad and others into the team, into the playing level. So it would give us a good, ample opportunity to study them in the right conditions against tall, fast bowlers. And yes, it would be far better to play on such pitches than in the Dominica pitch. But Dominica pitch, I can also understand, it's really not a traditional cricket pitch. Traditional cricket ground. It may be part of the Leeward or Windward Islands, one of those two islands. But but I don't think Dominica actually is good really for Test cricket. With 70,000 spectators, how much can you expect? 70,000 population, how much can you expect from them? It's more a T20 pitch rather than anything else. But this pitch Dominica was very bad, and it gave cricket a bad name. Let's be honest about it. It gave cricket a bad name. We expect the West Indies pitches to be a lot more fiery, a lot more bouncier, and of course, West Indies pitches seldom have grass, so we don't need to worry about the grass. But definitely, it will be a good idea to test the mettle of some of these players when the ball is bouncing and doing a bit off the pitch.
Chetan, do you see them fighting back if it was a pitch that was more suitable to their fast bowlers?
I don't see them fighting back, but it's the only chance that West Indies has against this Indian batting lineup. I don't think their spinners can take 20 wickets. I'm not sure their pacers can take 20 wickets either, no disrespect to the West Indies, but they can still cause some sort of problems. With a new hard ball earlier in the innings against Yashasvi and Rohit, that was the only period where I thought, the Indian batsmen were in a bit of bother. There were times when they were in a bit of bother against spin as well, but that was because the ball was old and the pitch was doing a bit of tricks. So unless and until they bring out a rank turner, and even then, I don't think they have the spinners to utilize the rank turner. It's just not enough to make rank turners and take 20 wickets. So no, the short answer is no, but maybe a pacier pitch might give West Indies just that sort of benefit. Maybe one and a half spells that they could attack Indian batsmen. Yeah.
Okay, now let's move on to this other story. Let's talk about a cricketer who was earmarked for greatness. He had a dream debut, becoming the youngest batter at 18 to score a century in his first test. But the talented Prithvi Shaw hasn't been able to live up to the expectations in international cricket, not being able to score runs across formats, off-field issues and fitness problems. All these have led to him falling behind others in the pecking order. The last time Prithvi Shaw was named in the Indian team was last year in the series against New Zealand, but he didn't get a game, and this year he wasn't considered for the West Indies series or the Asian Games. He's also had a terrible IPL this season, scoring just 116 runs in 8 matches, which has also added to his problems. So now, in an interview to CricBuzz, he's spoken about what it's like to be dropped from the team, being trolled on social media. He's spoken about how he's scared of speaking his mind. He's even scared of going out. He's kept himself literally locked up at home. He's not going out to meet friends because of the fear of what might be shown in the media. He had scores of 26-25, 65 and 7 in the 2 matches in the Duleep Trophy in Allur and Bengaluru. He'll be skipping the other trophy to play for Northamptonshire in England. Quick one, Vedam. I mean, we all want him to come back. We all want him to do well because of the kind of talent that he has. But somewhere, all that has happened off the field, fitness issues, all of this has also been his undoing, right? He just didn't stay the course.
Yeah, I guess so. When you turn around and look at it, it would seem like that. But we have this history of discarding players too quickly. When I say discard, because I think we have a wealth of talent, but we lack patience. So we get rid of them very quickly, not just because of what they did. Of course, Prithvi doesn't definitely deserve to get selected. But what have we done to groom the talent? What have we done to ring fence the talent? In any other country, you would ring fence the talent and see that they come along. We haven't had proper mentorship for him. And whether it's on the field, off the field, you need a good mentor. And we need a system where you just don't, it's not just identifying the right players. You also need to mentor them through tough times, through easy times, and don't forget that suddenly when a youngster at whatever his age, 16, 17, 18, or even 19, suddenly he springs up, he's the hero, of his neighborhood, of his cycle, of his circle of friends, and suddenly the papers are writing about him, television is doing show. Can he handle it? Is he equipped to handle it? Have we given him the right tools? Now, that is the important thing that the board really needs to look into. It's not just a question of having an NCA and producing cricketers, but you also need to do a lot beyond that.
Absolutely. I agree.
How they handle fame, how they handle, and there are agents. Agents are dangerous. They're not really good. They're dangerous, especially at a very young age. So how to handle those situations. That's what the board needs to do. And Prithvi Shaw is a classic case. We've lost so many outstanding spinners in the past. I can easily name a couple of them. At 17, 18, you gave them their debut, and they fell apart. But what is the lesson you learned from that? If they've fallen apart, you should have learned some lesson. You have not learned the lesson. You're still so callous, so indifferent about your talent. People would give anything, any country would give anything to have somebody as talented as Prithvi Shaw in the ranks. But talent alone is not sufficient. There's a whole lot of other things you need to equip him with. And we haven't done that. So I think the board really, really, really needs to look inwards and see if they can get a system going. Right now, they think they have a system, but I don't think that the system is working.
Okay, just before we wrap this up now, the fact that Mahendra Singh Dhoni is not active on social media, we don't get to see him much. We all want to see him more and more. What is he up to? So whenever we do get an opportunity where we get to see what he is doing, we like to put it up for all of you. And this is a video that Venkatesh Prasad, former Indian cricketer, he uploaded on Twitter, and this is going viral. Why? Because take a look at Mahendra Singh Dhoni's bikes and car collection. Just look at it. Let's put the nat up of this video so that everybody can see this.
What do I say? How do you feel being in Ranchi first? Like how?
Amazing.
Your first time?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's my fourth
You?
time.
Fourth time?
This is the fourth or fifth time, I think.
My first
here. Probably first time you were here with the legend.
Okay.
But
And
this is crazy.
okay.
This place is crazy.
Yeah. Any comments?
You can't explain. You can't explain about this whole setup.
The old likes.
Any comments on this?
Unless and until someone is mad about this, you can't.
I'll take a video.
Yeah, isn't it? Huh? She was not making it for me by then. Doesn't it look weird? All this, पता नहीं ये बाइक शोरूम हो सकता है ये. इसीलिए जब ये बन रहा था ना, तो हम लोग जैसे बहुत बड़ा बन रहा है. अभी full हो गया.
Yeah, it's full. It's full.
जब ये बन रहा था, हम साक्षी बोलते थे कि
Mahi, why?
बड़ा नहीं बन रहा है.
Why?
Because you took
Why?
everything, so I needed to have something of my own. So this is the only thing you allowed. That also you wanted after the badminton court. I said no, it will be before the badminton court.
Which one?
There's a badminton court on that.
Oh, okay.
Oh god. No, this is
Crazy.
There's no.
Someone
explanation,
needs to
I would say.
have
There's no explanation.
hell of a
for
lot
this.
of passion to do something else or to have something else, I'm telling you. Otherwise.
No, what's the
Or someone has to be mad
Mad, I would say.
You call it
That's why you have to go crazy about this. Yeah.
ये आपको बाइक की कहानी बताता है। ये जब पहला आड़ी था ना मई का, तो हम लोग पहले घूमने निकलते थे। तो क्या था ना कि चलते वक्त तेल खत्म हो जाता था। उसका हम लोग ना कार से तेल मंगाते थे।
So,
Well, there you see him. He's Chetan, an anomaly really in Indian cricket. You know,
Oh, he
people
is.
have
I remember
cricketers have
this.
come and gone. There's no one quite like him.
No, absolutely no. And I remember this one time where he, brought his Hellcat to Delhi, and he rented out the Buddh International Circuit in Noida, in Greater Noida, and he went for a test run over there with his Hellcat. I mean, Hellcat, he doesn't really get to ride his Hellcat, on Indian roads really, and he really shouldn't. And that's the day he really rented out the entire facility. So that's an MS Dhoni story that stays with me. Also, throughout the 2011 World Cup, there were questions put up to him how the Indian team is coming along, how they are gelling together. We've talked so much about them, the squad gelling together. And he used the anomaly of, the analogy of a motorbike, and he used to say, abhi page khis rahe hain, abhi oiling ho raha hai. Throughout that tournament, he used to give that analogy. So he's a proper petrol head, and there are just so many things that you love about MS Dhoni, and this is just one of them.
I just like the fact that he just disappears. The others talk about how media hounds them, how they don't want to be on social media, but they're still there with them. With MS Dhoni, he disappears, and he is one of the most popular cricketers, and he can just somehow manage to do it.
Yeah, actually, I got two videos on the social media. One, of course, was this one. But then somebody sent me Jay Leno's. Jay Leno, if you Google him and get him and his collection of cars, I think he's got. He needs an army to maintain that. I think he's got some 160 cars and some 200, 250 bikes. So I think there are people who collect yachts, people who collect motorbikes, people who collect dogs or horses or whatever. And maybe this is the downtime. The stress buster. Somebody like Dhoni who keeps himself so cool, he needs a stress buster. Maybe this is his stress buster, and this is what is helping him along. So I think while it's great that he's got enough wealth to look after whatever his stress buster is, especially when it is such an expensive hobby, I think this is a way to go for many of the big rich Indian sportsmen, because they also need some outlets, It's better
somewhere,
to get
something that you can just release your pressure, release your tension, right?
Yes, but this is the right one rather than, hooking onto something else. So, I think this is the right way to go.
Okay, yes, I think with this, we've got to wrap this up. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Chetan Narula, Vedam Jaishankar, for joining us here. I don't know whether he really wanted to be in that video. I know that video was being shot by his wife, Sakshi Dhoni, but everybody else seemed far more comfortable in that video except MS Dhoni. So, nevertheless, he didn't say no. The video was shot, but we'd like to see him back next season in the IPL, because everybody wants to see Mahendra Singh Dhoni in action. We don't want him to ever not play for CSK. That's it from us. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. News 9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest. Bye-bye.
With all this gear, you must be wondering if I'm climbing a mountain. Well, let me give you a wider look of this place. This is Asia's largest mountain of shame.
A mountain of waste, almost the height of the Qutub Minar.
When you enter capital cities of some of the biggest countries in the world, you don't have 3 garbage mountains waiting to welcome